Hey, it's Brock with Straight Line Delivery here, and I want to talk to you about wheel bearings on your trailer. Most of them now come from factory with an oil bath hub. And I talked to a friend of mine who all he does is work on trailers all day, every day. It's all he's done for the past 15 years. And I asked him, what's the benefits to staying with oil bath versus using grease? Now, I've always used grease myself, and I noticed that the outer smaller bearing, that would usually blue pretty quickly. It would wear out a little sooner. And my maintenance regimen was I would take my bearings apart every 2 to 3 months, regardless of how much I use the trailer. And I would take them apart. I would clean them with a little diesel fuel. And what I would do is I would save the diesel that I got from doing fuel filter changes in a little coffee can, and then I would just dump the bearings in there, and that would pretty much eat all the diesel or all the bearing grease off of there. So that diesel would wash them clean away. And then I could spin the bearing around and kind of look and just see if I felt any oddities, any scars, anything like that. If it was too blued, it was too dark, it looked like it was starting to get burned, like the oil was burned in there, or the grease was burned in there, I would just throw them away and change them. And then every 6 months, I would put new bearings and races in my trailer. So I kind of had a 6-month regimen of throwing away all my 2-inch straps, all my bearings and races I would replace, and then all the brakes on my trailer I would just replace. Now these were the drum style brakes, so they aren't quite as accurate and made to the standard that automotive is. So since these are a trailer, a lot of times stuff will be a little bit out of round, which means, if here's your circle and this is the center, well, maybe it's just a little off center, so your brakes rub funny, and one set of brakes on the back left wear out quicker than any others. That's just because the trailers aren't made to the same specs as an automotive standard is, like with a car, because it's not a passenger carrying piece of equipment. They don't care that much. But even with bigger, heavier, 12,000 pound axles and disc brakes, those last a lot longer, but you've still got a bearing you've got to worry about. And back to my friend who does this every day. He said his experience has been grease will never fail you, but a lot of people get complacent with grease, meaning maybe they've got a Zerk fitting, they give it 3 pumps every couple of months and call it a day. Well, that doesn't really do a whole lot for that rear bearing. And a lot of times you can get away with that for quite some time. If you've got a camper and you use it 5 times a year, you'll never notice an issue. But with using a hot shot every day to make your living, you're going to run into stuff where you're wearing things out a lot faster than your average guy that's maybe hauling a Bobcat around town or something like that. He said when you have grease on your bearings, all you need to do is inspect them frequently, which I say 2 months. Inspect them, clean them, and then grease them and put them back in if they're good. Now, another thing I did, and this was before there's supply chain issues, another thing I did was I found out what bearings, front and back, or inside and outside bearings, and seals that my trailer took. And then I would order a whole sleeve of them. So I would have enough to do 2 years worth of maintenance. That way, when they're sitting right there in your garage and you don't have to go chase them down on a Saturday, you've got them right there. If something looks even a slight bit funny, you can just go, you know what, this thing's out of here, I'm replacing this bearing. And a lot of times I did that with the smaller outer bearing. I would yank that off and replace it, even at the 2-month mark. I didn't like the way it looked, trash it, get rid of it. Because if you lose a bearing, you've probably been there before if you've been doing this for a while, you can ruin an axle, which means you could be down for who knows how long, however long it takes to get an axle replaced. So I was a big fan of grease for that reason. my friend that works on trailers all the time, he said his experience with oil bath hub is the bearings last longer because they're always running a little cooler. And when you get a leak, it's usually a slow leak. So you see a little leak start to develop. You can see it kind of running out on the rim. Keep an eye on it, keep it filled up, and replace the seal as soon as you can. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is the seal fails all at once. All of the oil comes out. And then what you've got is nothing. And then that you overheat and you have a catastrophic failure. So what do you guys think? Who's running? Here's what I really want to ask. Are any of you guys out there running like a double aught oil with grease? Just enough to kind of get the oil in there and not displace the grease. And if you have, how'd that work? I'm curious. It's something that none of us have ever done. I've had guys go from oil bath hub to grease just because they've had too many leaks. You know, you have your bearings done at a shop or you do them yourself. Everything seems to be going back in fine, and that thing just doesn't quite seal up right, and 2 days into your new week, it's leaking again. Yeah, I want to know from you guys, if you're running oil bath hubs with really thick oil and some grease in there, what's your experience been with that? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments below. Like this video and then subscribe to this channel so you see all the other videos. And if you've got any questions for me, I've been doing this since 2011. Feel free to contact us. There'll be email and phone number at the end. Give me a call and we can talk. I don't want to see anybody fail. That's the main thing. So if you got any questions, please feel free. Thanks, guys.